happy Monday morning, bright and early. We did serve coffee, so hopefully it got you here. My name is Courtney Chandler. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Chief of Staff for the Administration Division. We're really excited to have this town hall, and we really want to thank you guys all for being here. I know there's plenty of seats out there, so hopefully you guys will come forward. As you know, we have a very large division, so you never know how many people are going to show up. I am going to introduce my partner in crime here, Kyle Gibson, who's going to be helping me here today. And before I have him come up and lead our icebreaker, I'd love to know how many of you guys are new to your roles or new to Berkeley this past year. And if you are new, could you stand up, please? Want to see anyone new? Yeah. Nice. Welcome. Thanks for joining our team. You know what you'll see a lot of times when you're on a big Zoom call and people introduce themselves, it's kind of this norm we have. Everyone shares how long they've been on campus. Have you noticed that? And it's usually in the decades. And so then if you add it all up, the institutional knowledge is incredible. Okay, we have a great program today. We're going to start off after the icebreaker with Mark giving kind of an update on where things are and some reflections from last year. And then one of the main events is we really want to introduce you to our new strategic plan, which I'll be walking you through. And then to kind of kick off some of the tactics and initiatives and priorities in our strategic plan, we're going to have a focus on AI to end the session. So we've kind of got 3 blocks of time that'll take us to 10:30. But before we get going, I'm going to invite Kyle up here and show you how you guys can interact with this program, because one of the goals of holding these town halls is not just for information sharing, but to create engagement and a sense of community. So we don't want you guys just sitting in the audience listening for an hour and a half. We want you to participate too. So with that, I'll invite Kyle up.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you. All right, so we're all going to do a little test here because I've never done this in this large of a setting before, but we're going to do some live polling, and we're going to do a little test right now. So if you'd all like to take out your cell phones, no app is needed. All we need you to do to participate this morning is text the letters VCA, Vice Chancellor for Vice Chancellor Administration, to the number 22333 on your phones. And go ahead and send that text, and you're going to get back a message that says, you've joined Kyle Gibson's session, and when you're done this morning, you can text back leave to get out of it. But all you got to do is go ahead and send a text to that number with VCA, and then we're going to do a test poll to see how this works. All right, so let's try this out. So remember, text VCA 22333 to participate. And now we're going to do a little test. So A or B, all you got to do is text the letter A to say, would you rather travel 50 years into the past or 50 years into the future? So if you'd rather go in the past, text A. And if you'd like to go into the future, text me B. All right, I'm seeing 36 responses, 38 responses, 41. All right, and we are definitely looking into the future this morning.
Ooh, that's good.
Exciting. All right, let's do one more just to see if we've got this figured out. The second question is, it's a word cloud. If you could travel to any country in the world, text me what country you would like to go to. We have a strong lead with Japan. Seeing a lot of movement. Oh, here you go. New Zealand coming in. There we go. Scotland. All right, there we go. Galapagos. Good choice. Italy's coming in strong. So we'll do some questions like this through this morning's presentation that are using these 2 methods, either a multiple choice response or a word cloud, to gauge how you're feeling about some of the things that we're going to present, and also just get some ideas from you. So this already is very exciting to see what everybody thinks about where they'd like to go. Fantastic. Well, thank you for this, and I'm going to turn this back over to Courtney, and we'll keep on going.
Yes, thanks. Now I want to know where everyone's planning to travel. So next up, I'd like to introduce Vice Chancellor of Administration, Marc Fisher.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Truly wonderful to see so many of you here today. I'd like to see a few more next time, so please invite your friends, tell them we had good food. Sharissa works really hard on that, and we don't want to waste any of those goodies. Okay, so thanks for everything you do, as always, for your dedication, expertise, and the care that you show for the campus. It is noticed, noticeable, and appreciated. Our division is nearly 1,700 employees strong. And Kyle, does that include students? Where did Kyle go? No. So with his students, it's got to be closer to 2,000. So that's really what we're talking about. So an organization of 2,000 people. It's a big number, but what it really means is that we are a community. Across 10 departments in my immediate office, we come together every day to help make Berkeley the exceptional institution it is. Once again recognized last week in the latest 2026 U.S. News and World Report, Best Colleges list is the #1 public university. My internal joke is UCLA taking down those #1 signs, and are they shipping them to us? That's all I want to know. So anyway, we deserve to put our own banners up and be very proud. There's also, I think, a Wall Street Journal poll. We're #7 out of all colleges, and so Berkeley is just doing extremely well in the world in the rankings of higher education. We're the operational backbone of the university. Much of our work happens behind the scenes, which is, sometimes seen and not seen, but they still, I think, appreciate it. But we're always at the heart of what makes Berkeley thrive. Think about it. We keep classrooms, labs, public areas ready for teaching and research. We make faculty and staff make sure they're paid on time. We keep the campus safe. We keep it resilient and accessible. We provide the IT systems and digital tools that connect the community and power innovation. We plan and build the facilities that will serve the next generation of students. We manage mobility, parking, transportation, so people can get where they need to go. And we create a workplace where staff can grow, innovate, and do their best work. Every day, across every department, all of these pieces come together, and that's what makes Berkeley, Berkeley. This morning is a chance to pause and reflect, to look back, not just at what we've accomplished, but how much we accomplished together. And you saw the slides as we were coming in. That's from the last strategic plan. And we accomplished nearly everything in that plan, which is pretty remarkable. So that's about 5 years ago. You'll see the new plan, or the plan that's evolving today. We have a chance to look forward, that's the plan, and to recommit to the important work ahead. I want you to know how proud I am of this division and each of you. You show up for Berkeley's mission. In doing so, you make a difference in the lives of students, faculty, staff, and the broader community every single day. I got a lot of text here, get ready. Okay, let's use this time to celebrate successes, learn about the opportunities and challenges ahead, and continue strengthening the work we do as a division. Because at the end of the day, the story of administration at Berkeley is not just about operations or processes. It's about people, it's about you, and it's about what we can achieve when we bring our talents together in service of this remarkable institution. So we're reflecting on the past year. Looking back over the past year, it's clear that our division has continued to make profound impact on the campus. Each of our 10 departments contributed in unique and powerful ways, and I want to take a few minutes to highlight some of that work. Berkeley IT, where's Tracy? Tracy Shinn. Delivered the smoothest start of the fall semester in 5 years, which is the sort of thing you don't hear about if it's smooth, but you do hear about if it's not smooth. With highly reliable Wi-Fi and strong student support, research and administration across campus. They expanded secure cloud services, enhanced data privacy and cybersecurity protections, and rolled out new digital tools that make it easier for faculty, staff, and students to do their best work. Perhaps most importantly, they've led our efforts to explore and adopt emerging technologies, AI, bringing artificial intelligence into Berkeley's daily operations. Thoughtfully, responsibly, in ways that serve the entire campus, is being led by this division. There's no small achievement, and it positions Berkeley to lead, not follow, in the years ahead. You'll hear more about this exciting work later this morning. Tracy the other day said, we asked what were the things that are top of mind for her, 3 things, AI, AI, AI. So there's a consistent theme in this. Berkeley Regional Services, under Seamus. Where's Seamus? Seamus is here. Good, Seamus, stand up. BRS showed resilience in the face of heavy and growing workloads, They launched new performance dashboards, opened direct feedback channels through customer surveys, and assumed complex responsibilities ranging from corrective action processes to the negotiated salary program. They also stood up emergency funding responses during federal stop work orders and restructured HR services in the best region to better meet staff needs. Through it all, they strengthened transparency, accountability, and trust. This has been a really big year. There a lot of unionization, a lot of change on the campus. You sort of forget how this impacts people. BRS, it's been a huge impact, and PNC, People and Culture, same. So these are the things that continue to evolve in higher education, and of course, what's happening with the federal government right now also complicates the workload on the campus. Capital strategies, John Arvin's over here. John picked the song this morning that we started with. So, as a reminder, John's leadership has had a landmark year, expanding student housing and delivering major campus facilities. Anchor House and Hushan Ruway, can everyone spell that? Open their doors, providing over 1,500 new beds. People's Park project continues to move forward. In January 2026, we'll break ground on the Bancroft-Fulton Residence Hall, another step toward our long-term goal of housing more students close to campus. Our capital projects team managed over $1.6 billion in active projects, delivering spaces that support research, teaching, and student life. And I think it's peaking right now at about $2 billion just now. Let's see. This includes the Grimes Engineering Center, Creekside Center for Disabled Students program over here, quite nice. And looking ahead, we're preparing to welcome students, faculty to two major new academic buildings, undergraduate academic building and the Gateway, new home of the College of Computing, Data Science, and Society, which is on Hearst Avenue, if you haven't been over there in a while, both opening in early 2026. At the same time, construction continues on Heathcock Hall, and we're launching the Clean Energy Campus Project, a bold effort to modernize energy and heating and cooling system on the campus. On the planning side, the Accessible Paths and Places Plan earned a national recognition. That's a lot of work both from the PEP team and also from DAC, Ella Callow's group. So a great example of us all working together. Disability access and compliance under Ella. Where's Ella? No, she's here, back here in the middle. Yes. Advance both policy and practice, releasing UC's first inclusive emergency preparedness policy and revising service animal guidance. They invested over $1.25 million in accessibility improvements and provided communication access at more than 90 public events. They also launched a new online training series, graduated their 6th cohort of disability access liaisons, and finalized a disability strategic plan to guide future work. Under Alicia Beeler, is Alicia here this morning? There's Alicia, EH&S, Environmental Health and Safety. Worked hard this year to stabilize staffing, brought the Office of Emergency Management back into the department, and strengthened compliance across a growing research enterprise. They reorganized research and fire prevention teams for greater efficiency, met milestones on system-wide safety mandates, and improved financial transparency. Their dual reporting to administration and research has been a strength, keeping them aligned with faculty needs while ensuring strong operational oversight. And they work a lot with a lot of our areas. This is a really nice shift. By the way, Alicia was the acting director for 2 years? 2 years. So anyway, we appreciate the fact that she stuck with it, and she's now the official head of EH&S. Facility Services under Sally McGarrahan, Sally's not here this week, worked tirelessly to keep the campus running smoothly, from restoring critical steam lines, which right now is feeding this building very well, thank you, to power outages, cleaning and maintaining classrooms, labs, and public spaces. The team was on the front lines of daily operations. By the way, the campus, I think, looks as good as it's ever looked. It just, coming back this fall, it was beautiful. And it continues to look great. So I don't know if anyone's here from the grounds team, but kudos to you for what you've been able to do. Felix is here. So they advanced the fire mitigation projects. Not everyone loves that. We took down a lot of trees on the hill with the LBNL folks, and the city of Oakland addressed specialized lab needs for programs like the Howard Hughes Medical Institute and biosciences, and optimized processes of capital renewal and deferred maintenance. Perhaps most notably, they helped Berkeley achieve the first ever STARS Platinum rating under the 3.0 framework, a new framework, an extraordinary milestone in sustainability that reflects leadership, innovation, and long-term commitment. Is Nathan Jandal in the room? Is Nathan here this morning? Nathan's our new sustainability head. You all should meet him. He's a really great person. And this, by the way, is a big deal, this STARS thing. It's extremely competitive, and I think we were one of the first to actually achieve this, so it's great. Parking and transportation, again, Seamus. Yes. Tackled long-standing challenges while planning for the future. Over the past decade, the campus lost more than, get ready, 1,000 parking spaces. Good luck. Parking due to construction. This year, the department kept campus mobility functioning despite these pressures. A key step forward is the bankrupt parking structure, which Seamus tells me the first precast is going to come this week, so it'll start to come out of the ground pretty quickly. I think 680 spaces are a really important project for the campus. We expect it to complete next summer 2026. On the transit side, the Bay Pass referendum now gives students unlimited access to Bay Area public transit, a landmark achievement, so it's a card that takes you everywhere. It's a one-card system, which is quite good. People and culture. Is Eugene? Eugene's not here this morning. He's at a conference. Under Eugene Whitlock's People and Culture has continued to make Berkeley a better place to work. They've strengthened employee relations and ADA accommodations with a new service hub platform, I think quite successfully, cutting turnaround times dramatically. Their work on criminal background checks has reduced delays from weeks to just days. I see Janet sitting here. And the restructuring of DEIB into the Office for Staff Engagement and Belonging better reflects our values and priorities. This past year, they focused on supporting our staff, strengthening teams, and filling critical positions. Time to fill vacancies has dropped, which has helped improve morale and build trust. They've also partnered with external organizations to cover key roles while recruiting to identify candidates for hard-to-fill positions. They've expanded training opportunities across the university and led the campus in adopting AI tools, including Bear GPT, making it easier for staff to do their jobs and innovate. And a major highlight, something I know many of you enjoyed, was the annual NOW conference, which is a huge success, right? It brought the campus together for networking, learning, and workplace innovation, and really showcased People and Culture's commitment to creating a Berkeley workplace that everyone can thrive in. And then supply chain management. I think Russ is not here either. Russ's daughter got married. Might be in Italy right now. Supply chain management under Russ Chung kept the campus supplied with extraordinary efficiency, processing nearly $1 billion in procurement requests. They reduced cycle times to under 2 days, many in less than 24 hours. They secured system-wide adoption of the supplier risk monitoring platform, advanced sustainable purchasing, and achieved over $8 million in recognized savings so far this year. And finally, Chief Pittman. Is the chief here? Right here. Chief Pittman. Our UC Police Department maintained full sworn staffing for the first time in years. I think it goes up and down a little bit. We're close. It's important to note, they want to work for Chief Pittman. That's how she's able to do this. So kudos to her for that. We are delivering measurable results, such as eliminating property break-ins at Richmond Field Station, the Community Safety Officer Program, and I believe there may be one in the back, maybe one, is now in place. And, that's a student one. That's 100 employees, but also our new Community Safety Specialist is also in place. So that's a great program that's advancing. So a lot of good work in that area as always. Bridging to strategic planning. So this is, Courtney's going to come back up, but they also set the stage for what comes next. The past year shows us what we can do when we work together. It shows us the impact of focus, expertise, and collaboration. and it reminds us of why it is the right time to set a new course for the future. And I mentioned earlier, 5 years ago, our strategic plan was done at a very different time. First of all, it was done mostly at the executive team level. This is a really different process. These folks will go through it with you, but we want it to be a much more inclusive process to really include everyone in the room and anyone who maybe watches this tape later to provide your comments and feedback on the strategic plan. I think it's a very strong plan, and look forward to working with you on implementation. A lot of change in the world since 5 years ago. Higher ed is different almost every day than it was, and it's hard to imagine the speed of change that we're all going through. Our expectations are different. Technology is advancing exponentially, and the demands on staff have never been greater. So over the past months, the executive leadership team and senior managers have worked closely with many of you to develop a new 5-year strategic plan for the administration division. This plan will help us focus on the highest impact work, align around shared goals, and continue building a culture where we succeed together. So our vision is clear. The administration division isn't just support. We make it possible, the campus possible. We are behind the scenes, but the heart of everything that moves Berkeley forward, reliable, responsible, efficient, and we act with purpose. There you go. Courtney.
Thanks, Mark. You can see from all the stuff that he went over how broad and expansive our division is, and how diverse our division is in terms of all the different functions and services and things that we do, which adds an extra level of challenge when you're trying to create a strategic plan. And you'll see this in a minute. Our new format for our strategic plan is a one-page strategic plan. So think about 2,000 people, 10 departments, all captured on one page. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so let me just tell you what we're going to do for this section is mostly I really just want to start with kind of what is the strategic plan so that we're aligned on that. Mark touched on this, but go through a little bit how we got to the strategic plan, and then of course show you the strategic plan. And then one of my favorite parts is how a strategic plan is connected to culture. It's something that I've studied, done research on, and I'm very, very passionate about. And then kind of what's next, how we're going to measure it, and next steps together. So hopefully you'll get excited about this. And again, we're going to have some interactive parts of this. And the first up is another poll. So get out your phones, that same kind of text area that you did before. What's the first word that comes to mind when you think of a strategic plan? So one word, right? Okay, do I go to the next one now? Okay, and we'll see. It's going to be another word cloud. All right, this is great. We definitely have a future theme today, right? Everyone wanted to go 50 years in the future, and it connects really well. Our strategic plan is not a 50-year plan, but at least it's forward thinking. Okay, well, there's a lot of words up there, and I always like doing this because a lot of times people have different definitions of what is a strategic plan or strategic planning process. Even the hierarchy or definitions, people will argue, well, is that a goal? Is that a priority? Is that a strategy? Is that an initiative? Is that a tactic? Is that an objective? So there's lots of different competing views of this, but we'll walk you through what we're thinking about. So thank you for this. Oh, it got so big it kind of went to the side. So what is a strategic plan? It really is a roadmap for the future, and it really aligns us on a future direction. And you're hearing a lot also at the same time as we've launched our strategic plan. You've heard that the campus is under a strategic planning process under Chancellor Lyons and Provost Hermelin. And the word you might be hearing a lot, and if you went to the all-staff forum on Wednesday, is this idea of a nimble strategy, which I really like the thinking of that. It connects to the changes we're experiencing, and it really connects the way I think of a strategic plan. Strategic plan is not something that you spend months and months putting together, and it's this big book or this very long document that no one can remember, and it sits on a shelf and no one looks at it again. So I like this idea of a nimble strategy. And some things that's behind it is, good qualities of a nimble strategy are leaders that think beyond silos, ways to spark new ideas and innovation, and a plan that's actionable. But it's also sometimes more interesting to talk about what a plan isn't, because a lot of people have reactions to strategic plans. A strategic plan is not a description of every activity, function, or service we do. If we did that, it would be something like we focus on everything and then we focus on nothing. So instead, it's not about seeing your direct role, maybe, or your direct service or function in the strategic plan, but what you can take out of the plan and bring to your role. So I hope you think about that as we go through it. But again, we do want to continue to get your feedback on this, and I'll circle a little bit more back on that. So Marc mentioned all the accomplishments. You saw the slides that came through. Nearly all of our objectives were accomplished in our strategic plan, which is fantastic. But this positions us well for our next plan. It really builds on a strong base. And a plan is just capturing kind of what's happening in that point in time in 5 years in the future. A lot of times things that are in a plan are already in progress, and so they're not meant to all start at that moment, but to capture and codify. One of my favorite quotes is, a good strategist is a pattern recognizer. And so you're recognizing the patterns that are already in place and the momentum, and also the ones that we still need to get to, those strategic priorities we still want to accomplish. So looking back and building this plan on all the success we had in the last plan is a really great place to start from. Marc mentioned this, and the song kind of captured this at the very beginning. It's a very, it's a changed environment. It's a different place than we were 5 years ago, and we really want this plan to reflect that. So we have a new campus leadership in Rich and Ben, Chancellor Lyons and Provost Hermelin. The external factors are significant, and they're creating lots of new pressures and creating new added complexity. And that pace of change is just speeding up. So we just need to really be able to meet the moment and see how that's going to impact our work over the next several years. So Marc touched on this. This is kind of what we did when we set out to do the plan. Marc mentioned that last time it was really done at the executive leadership team level, which is all the heads of all of our 10 departments within the division. And we really wanted to be more inclusive. So we did some retreats over the summer. We brought in all the kind of managers and leads of each of the departments. Of the 10 departments, there was about 70 to 80 of us that gathered in a room. It was a really working retreat, too. We also did a lot of interviewing before that, kind of capturing what the priorities were across the division. And then really taking what we kind of pulled from all that and going out to some key stakeholders to get their responses to it, too, since a lot of what we deliver affects the rest of the campus, and so we really wanted their input. In fact, that was a suggestion in that retreat, that we don't just think of it internally, that we go, before we finalize it, we really go out to the academic departments and other central units to get their input. So we spent most of September doing that, and now we're excited to officially launch it. And I'll tell you, when you go through that, I think there's places in the plan that are going to evolve as we go through. Usually the goals and strategies and objectives are pretty much solidified, but it's the tactics that I'll show you are kind of the thing that can evolve and change. Some might be 1 year or 2 year tactics, some might take 5 years to get to. So we can constantly be updating it. Okay, so I've mentioned this framework, this OGST framework. It stands for Objectives, Goals, Strategies, and Tactics. It's a framework I used quite a bit when I was in my previous role at the Haas School of Business, and it really worked well. It's also a framework that allows you to capture the plan on one page. So the objectives really are the inspirational that gives the organization meaning, kind of why do we exist and how do we win? And the goals are the key areas where we measure success. Our strategies are those most important choices that enable us to reach our goals. And then the tactics are really those important actions that we need to take to execute on that strategy. And the way I think about this, as I was just mentioning, that the strategy is kind of that engine in the middle of it that helps us meet our goals. We will have clear owners on this plan. You won't see that yet because that's in our next step. And you'll also see in a minute that not every single strategy is one for goals. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about what's coming next about how we're going to measure success too. Okay, so here is our plan. I know you can't read it like this, it's really small, and I'm not going to walk through every single word in here. And we are going to share it on our website, and so you guys can digest it more clearly. And I'm going to go through some of these a little bit more closely. But we wanted to show you this to see how it shows up on one full page. So this is our one-page plan. What you'll see is that there's 3 goals, and then there's 4 strategies. And I mentioned those are not meant to be one for one. Those 4 strategies collectively should help us meet each of those 3 goals. But the tactics are meant to kind of drive directly to those strategies. So there's 3 tactics per strategy. So let me take you through each of these sections a little bit more. So the first off was our objective statement. And our objective statement reads, we enable a stronger Berkeley through essential services and bold solutions. I actually really love this statement. It took us a long time to get here. We started off with very long sentences with lots of commas and lots of descriptions to try to capture everything. But we really wanted to have something that we could remember, that gave us a sense of pride in what we do, that reflected our important role we have for Berkeley, that really leverages the collective subject matter expertise that each of you guys bring to your roles, that enables us to deliver those services, but also provide those bold solutions to be creative and innovative. And we wanted it to be short and easy to remember. So we think we got it, but again, we can keep kind of fine-tuning it. And I really think it sets us up. You know, one thing you'll hear Chancellor Lyons say a lot is Berkeley is one of society's most important assets. And so I wanted to see, how does our work play into that? How do we help Berkeley be one of society's most important assets? And we enable a stronger Berkeley because we provide those essential solutions. And through our subject matter expertise, we're able to come up with creative ideas and bold solutions to all the challenges that we're meeting. So I hope you like it. We're gonna maybe get some pins made. We're gonna try to do some swag around it just to kind of roll it out. But what do you guys think so far? Pretty good? Okay. So that's our objective. Simple statement, but took a while to get to. Okay, I mentioned we had 3 goals. This maybe you can read a little bit better than that very detailed one-pager. So when you want to put something on one page, you got to use really small font to fit it all on there. So there's 3 goals: enhance campus life, strengthen financial stewardship and resource management, and unify the division. So the first 2 goals, you'll see aspects of those in our previous strategic plan. It really captures kind of really what we do as a division. But that 3rd goal came out of all the conversations we had, the retreat. It really started showing how much everyone had wanted to act more like a unified division and get out of the silos. The way I think of it is, you know, how can we be more than some of our parts? So that's a new goal that you'll see. The other goals are written in a new way, but there's probably aspects of that that are familiar to you guys if you remember this last strategic plan. So let me go to a poll here and ask you which goal most resonates with you. If you text A, if you think enhanced campus life resonates most with you, B, if strengthened financial stewardship and resource management, and C, if you like unified division the most, that resonates. It's not a like, it's what resonates you the most. Okay. Is that okay, well, this is surprising. I actually would have thought C would have been the leader, but this is interesting. This is great. So strengthen financial stewardship and resource management resonates with most of you guys, 50% of you, and then we're equally kind of split on the other 2. It makes sense. We're in some, challenge. The changing environment is putting pressure on our financial structure and how we manage our resources, and our division is almost largely people, right? So our best and most valuable resources are all of us. So we need to be really focused on how we manage our resources and our people, really closely. Okay. So there's 4 strategies. One that's focused on service, what's called service and continuous improvement focused. Another way of thinking about that is kind of being client or customer centered, and really thinking about our campus partnership. I know so many of you do this really well, and what's behind this in particular strategy is how to have a more division-wide approach to it, share best practices. I think in a future state where this was really successful, anyone that comes in to interact with the services we provide in our division would just kind of have the same experience no matter which part of the division that they're working with. So that it's really consistent and we have the same level of kind of quality and efficiency in everything we deliver. The second one is enhanced campus infrastructure and building systems. Marc touched on a lot of what's been going on there. You could see, as he said, we're at a kind of a peak of $2 billion worth of capital projects. That also includes a lot of stuff that our facilities team does and the new Berkeley Clean Energy Campus. But it also captures the critical safety and compliance functions that we have within our division that are so important to our campus infrastructure and building systems, enhancing campus life. The next strategy is leverage AI and technology. Again, we're going to touch on this in our next session, our next session after me. But it really is a way to be more nimble and efficient by leveraging the technology at hand. Not just AI, so that's why you'll see and technology, but really trying to think about AI also. And the last one builds on that unified division and is a strengthening cross-unit collaboration and expertise. And this reflects our desire to work more closely together across our division, leveraging our subject matter expertise, but it also really connects culture to our strategic plan, which I'll talk about in a minute. And these are our tactics. So I mentioned there's 3 tactics per strategy. So under, let's see, I have this out of order, I think. Oh, here we go. Under our service and continuous improvement focus strategy, we have, I'll just show you the one on staff as a change maker. This one was something that kind of developed over kind of trying to enhance organizational capacity and really tries to reflect that every staff member has agency to make positive changes in how they do their work. So Marc and I actually were lucky enough to do the Yellow Belt training not too long ago, and we really liked that, and we encourage a lot of people to do that. And that's just one way you can bring kind of a, process management or, continuous improvement mindset into your roles. So under the strengthen cross-unit collaboration expertise strategy, we have, let me go to the next one, sorry. Next one's here, I got a little bit thrown off here. Under leverage AI and technology, we have one called AI literacy. And again, that's I think what Tracy, Wes, and Douglas are gonna give us a little sample of next. So we really hope that everyone starts to think about how they could bring AI to their own roles and their own work, and also the services that you provide. So developing that AI literacy. And finally, under our strengthen cross-unit collaboration expertise strategy, I want to show you the one on operating principles and cross-unit leadership. And this again builds on adopting division-wide norms and principles around collaboration. And again, connects us more closely to the culture. So, we've talked about culture a little bit, and I think culture is so important. It really is how we show up and how we do our job. And if you just put it all on paper and never think about how people interact and the norms and behaviors that show up, then you're really kind of leaving a lot behind. It really is what's going to make the strategic plan most successful. So you can see our norms are the behaviors we expect and we encourage. And our operating principles are the commitments that we make to each other. In fact, we actually have a tactic really focused on the operating principles, so we're going to be developing those more clearly. And if you study culture, you'll hear that there's kind of 3 levels of culture. There's the overt things or the espoused values that an organization will say. There are the kind of ways that kind of the norms and behaviors that you can see, and they kind of go down in level of visibility. And then the third levels are those unspoken or unwritten rules. And all three need to be in alignment for really to have positive culture. So I want you to kind of think about all three of those when you think about culture. What are we saying what we do? How are we showing up how we're acting? And what are those unwritten things that sometimes are kind of getting in the way of our norms and culture and positive culture? Okay, so we have another poll for you. In one word, what shared behavior or value will be most important for us to model to make this strategic plan successful? So think about the norms that we need to maybe adopt or leverage. Well, trust is definitely out in front, and collaboration and transparency. And we're going to keep all these, and we're going to incorporate these into our culture and our operating principles. So this is really helpful. I know that word trust comes up a lot, so we need to think about how can we enhance that trust through, you can see transparency up there too, and consistency. I think that really plays into the goal that we want to do as a unified division, so it starts with trusting each other and trusting our own division as well, and leadership too. This is fascinating. This is great. So that was a really good segue into how we're going to operationalize our plan and how we're going to measure the success of our plan. And a lot of what we want to build into that implementation plan is what you saw on that previous page: accountability, transparency. First we're going to start with identifying owners. So there'll be owners of the goals, strategies, and tactics. We're going to be working on that in the next couple of months. We're also going to have key measures of key performance indicators, or KPIs, especially around our goals. We're going to see if we need to do them for all of them, but mostly our goals. And those are really, really hard to do because I don't want to measure something unless we're actually going to take action on it. We don't want to just go through the activity of measuring something and then giving us a gold star and never doing anything. But it's one of the hardest things to do in a strategic plan, because once you measure it, and if it doesn't come out rosy, people react to it in very, very strong ways. We never quite got this right at Haas. We tried all different ways to do it, but it's still important, and we still have to try to do it. And I don't want to have a million things we're measuring, so that's going to be a lot of work to figure out what are the right things to measure and if they're really actionable. And then I mentioned accountability. We want to do more of these town halls. We hope to do them at least once a year, if not more. Kyle's been working tirelessly on updating our division-wide website, and so there'll be a lot more updates on that. Hopefully you saw the email that went out, was it this month, from the start of the fall semester, that touched on a lot of things that Mark mentioned in his opening remarks. We also have an annual report that we'll be publishing probably this month, around this month every year, and that'll hold us accountable on our progress in our strategic plan. But we also want feedback from you. And again, I see this plan evolving, especially as the tactics kind of come out and we kind of work on them, and we say we might have gotten that one wrong, we need to fine tune it, or now this is our reality, we need to add this. So I'm really excited to see how those tactics evolve. Okay. And this is what I'm asking all of you guys to do in kind of thinking about what you could do as part of this strategic plan. What are the immediate next steps for your teams? Taking back kind of how you can bring parts of the plan back to your work. How do we operationalize it in our daily work? How does our division's plan connect to maybe the campus strategic plan? We'll be hearing more about that. And how do we continue to adapt as the environment around us changes? All right, I'm going to ask Mark come back up, and we're going to open it up for any questions you have for Mark or myself on either the strategic plan or anything else that's going on, top of mind, anything that's happening that you guys have some questions. Oh, thanks. It's so warm, everyone's probably falling asleep, right?
It's really warm up here.
Yes, I feel like I'm dripping, but. Okay, I see some hands back there. If you go like this, or stand up if you guys have a question. We want to hear.
Good morning. So your one statement, we enable a stronger Berkeley through essential services and bold solutions. In addition to, you said, service and continued improvement focus, advance the division-wide service culture, rooted in responsiveness, quality, innovation, problem solving, resource efficiency, and ongoing improvement.
Wow.
So I know,
Love it.
and I agree with you.
Oh, good.
And I know Sally, she's not here, but I know Sally addressed this. I'm part of facility services, the electric shop, and we're understaffed. And so, but we get to what we can, and as not just my department, but the grounds you talked about. I talked to some grounds folks today. We're understaffed, but we want to we still do the best job we can. So as these new buildings come online, as these new projects and all the strategies, I totally agree with, because we want Berkeley to continue to be number one, not number 7, but number 1, right? Please include financing for additional staff for the university. And retention, increasing that financing includes retaining. We've lost 3 guys from our shop. I don't mean to get into the weeds, but just please have that top of mind, because the foundation is, as you said, essential staff and being able to respond in a cohesive, fast manner. I know there's a lot of folks here that have work orders in, and they're waiting for us, and we get to them, but we just don't have the staff. So, but thank you for your plan, and thank you for hearing me out.
I'm going to thank you for that. I'm going to let Mark answer it, but I just want to say one thing real quickly. Mark's really going to be able to answer this, but I want to make sure that you saw that we reflected that exact point in the bottom tactic down there is research management, about preserving and enhancing our staffing capacity to maintain the delivery of service. We hear that, we know that, so that definitely is in our strategic plan, but I'll let Mark.
So on the issue of new buildings, we certainly are making a strong push to get resources for those buildings. It's about $5 million worth of new money just for the buildings that we're finishing up this year. So that's Gateway, UAB, and what's the third one? There's the third one finishing. Oh, the little project right over here. But, it appears we're going to get that, but we're still short resources in other places. So while I look at that as a small success, pretty big number, but still a small success against the real need within the division, we certainly are trying as hard as we can to get it. And Sally certainly makes your case every time we see her. So again, and the new CFO on the campus, Kelly Sparks, is really interested in, as we develop projects, really having a clear understanding of the total cost of ownership. And so it's not that we haven't raised this issue before, but there's a heightened sensitivity there in her office, which is great for us, because I think it gets to this point when we start a project, do we have the money to take care of the project? And I would say in many cases, we started projects without absolutely no clear definition of how we were going to maintain them. So I think we're headed on the right course, and I know that this is absolutely critical. And just one last thing on this. Historically, the campus didn't fund this properly. New buildings came online. Sometimes our work was just stretched. It's not a model that can continue to stretch that way. We have to have additional resources to take care of these buildings. And then maybe last on this, the new buildings are much harder to maintain than the old ones. The technology is more complicated. You're an electrician, I think you said. All the systems are computerized. It's a totally different world in terms of what it takes to maintain them. And it takes staff specifically trained to take care of these technologies. So anyway, yes, completely with you, and trying to find those resources. So thank you.
What other questions? Oh, good. Thanks for that question.
Hi. Thank you very much. Hi. So I'm Jenny Bombacero Brady in Berkeley IT. I have a question for you folks regarding the item under AI literacy. Because we have such a diverse division in terms of various areas of expertise represented among staff and very different kinds of job descriptions, can you describe a little bit more about what you're hoping to achieve as far as AI literacy that really touches everyone? Thanks.
I'll start. So
Thank you.
I think, given what's happening in all technologies, and going back to the point about electrical work, you might have, that might have been at a point in my history at least when that was less of an issue. But almost everything anyone's doing in our division now has the potential to take advantage of AI, whether it's data searches, whether it's looking for innovative new ways to do things. I just think that it's going to be a big part of what happens in our lives. I went to a great presentation week before last over at UCSF, and it was a futurist talking about AI, and his take on it was, if you're not using AI now, you're already behind the curve because it's moving so quickly. And so for all of us, I think it just bringing on, whether it's basic AI skills or developed AI skills, I think all of us are going to have to do it. For those of us who are a little older, perhaps, it's more of a challenge. And but I'm as committed to it as I hope everyone in the room is, that we really look at these technologies. And what will follow this? My guess are other technologies that you can see emerging. They've been emerging for a while, but I think we'll see more developed technologies in things like robotics and other devices or things that will help us with our work on the campus. So it's a changing world. It's, and I think, very important for us all to stay on top of it.
I'll just add, I agree with Mark. I think you got to look at all three of these together somewhat too. AI literacy was really to kind of put it in your hands to see what makes sense for your work versus waiting for like a campus-wide or division-wide tool that would be rolled out. So your role is best. You might be able to start seeing how you can, summarize something. Like the way I've been thinking about it is every time I kind of have this feeling where well, that's a lot of manual work for me to do something, like review something or summarize something, I start to think, could I do this with an AI tool? So that's just a little bit of an example. I think we're going to be investing in more AI platforms over the next several years too, so it might be coming from both places. I'm already seeing it being embedded in a lot of the things we work with. For example, at one of our leadership team meetings recently, the supply chain management group talked about how they're really bringing it into Bearby and other places, so you're going to see it show up in a lot of places. And I think you're going to walk away after this next session with lots of great ideas on how to bring it to your role and what's available. But thanks for the question. What else?
What else out there? Oh, back here in the back.
One more?
Two.
We have one more question? Okay.
I got two more, David.
Okay, they'll be our last two, and then we'll get to our AI.
Yeah.
And I'll cool down for a little while.
Hi, my question comes from BRSHR. We work with UC Path a lot, and I really love the Service Hub, ServiceNow platform. But there are a lot of workarounds that we need to do, and I used to be able to process payroll the next day, but we're not able to do that with UC Path. So I'm hoping maybe with our strategic plan, we can work more closely with UC Path to get people paid sooner when there are mistakes or errors, or possibly take on more local authority for those payments so that we can pay people sooner. That would make my role a lot easier as well and free up time because we won't be checking in or waiting for a payroll date to make sure that things go through.
This has been a pain point since PATH was implemented. First of all, I think we have great leadership system-wide. Calvin Turner is the head of UC PATH now. He's making great progress, phenomenal person. And then I don't think Stacy Alvarez is, oh, Stacy's here. So if you don't know, I know you know Stacy, but Stacy is a good person to know. Stacy works both on our campus and she's working at the PATH Center. What that tells me, and I hope it tells you, is that Stacy is so accomplished that when they were pulling people from the system, they pulled Stacy in. Stacy is a really good person to know when you get into this, or if you have big ideas for Path, she can feed those through to Calvin. And Calvin's very, very open to changing processes and doing this. Again, it's been a huge issue since the day Path started, and I think every campus, including ours, has hoped to have more direct contact with the system so we don't go through that filter. But Stacy can help with a mic, maybe.
Hey, Mark, good to see you. I thought I would just ask and bring up a question related to one of the challenges I see in my job is explaining to our campus partners the challenges and opportunities of being a public institution. It's not nearly as sexy as talking about AI, but there are a lot of constraints on what we do because we are a public entity and we have to abide by the public contracting law. There are advantages, I think you should celebrate them, like Berkeley took in-house the review of accessibility across campus, something that many other universities would have to work with an outside partner to do. So they're like Sean is there as our campus building official. He's amazing to work with versus, say, working with an outside city official. So I think there are opportunities and challenges of being a public institution that I didn't hear talk about, and I just thought I'd bring it up as often one of the biggest challenges that I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
It is a highly regulated environment to work in with a lot of outside influences. And, we're in an interesting period. David, by the way, is the project manager on Heathcock Hall, which is the one up by chemistry. So if you're slowed down coming into campus from that side, you can blame David. So great project, just a little complicated to build, right, David? I think on all these things, it's a good time to push. There's probably never been a better time to challenge rules at the state level, especially because if we're going to be pinched by the federal government in terms of resources, we need to argue back to the state, make some of these other processes simpler so that we can do this work more efficiently and more cost effectively than we can with the kind of developed rules and policies in the state of California. A lot of powerful lobbyists in the state. I think, again, there's probably no better time than what I would describe as somewhat of a crisis to push on this. And your example of ADA and doing plan check here is a really good example of something where our attorney, David Robinson, figured out years ago that you didn't actually have to take every single project. It depends on the fund source. And so this was a great clarification, totally, I think, simplifies our work and keeps a lot of that decision-making on the campus. So we just need to push for more of that, frankly. But a little nervous about the Office of the President. They're kind of in a phase of thinking about pieces that might be aggregated together. And I think whenever that discussion starts, we just need to be, thoughtful about what aggregation looks like across a system this big. And this is very typical in the UC. We pull things in, that works for a while, and then they push it back out to the campuses. But I think no better time than right now to think about how we can do things more effectively with the resources we have. And I love the fact that resources kept coming up in here. You all are aware that that's a huge issue. And we just got to figure out how we manage it within the resources we have, but also how we can push for additional funds or resources.
Well, thank you. And thanks for the questions. I think we're going to pause, and if you don't mind, hopefully you guys can connect because we want to get to the next section. So just in closing, again, hopefully you thought the objective really resonated with you guys. We enable a stronger Berkeley through essential services and bold solutions. And together we make, Berkeley's mission possible. So I want to now invite up my colleagues, Tracy Shinn, who's our Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief Information Officer, Wes Johnson, who I've worked with closely over the years, who's our Executive Director of Campus IT Experience, and Douglas McSkimming, who's been a big champion of AI and how to bring it to all of our work. And he's the Chief of Staff and Director of Communications for People and Culture.
Thanks, Wes. Gives me great confidence to have Wes set up my machine rather than doing it myself. All right, so great to see you all. And I'm just the warm-up act here. The real content is coming. But I wanted to share with you how Berkeley IT has been thinking about our support for AI, because, frankly, it's not a straightforward question. What role should Berkeley IT play in UC Berkeley's AI strategy? And I guess our strategic plan statement of boldness to one side, we're actually approaching this with a bit of humility. But we did go ahead and publish, just this last week, our working AI service strategy. And what this is aiming to articulate is what role we see Berkeley IT playing in the adoption and enablement of AI at Berkeley. To frankly set expectations, we'd hope, that Berkeley IT is neither going to presume to dictate AI strategy for the institution, nor are we going to sit by and say, oh, y'all are on your own. We're going to be threading the needle, basically, to try to provide access to broadly useful infrastructure, meaning tools as well as physical networking capacity, data center, et cetera, to help to identify features that are, one of the questions that was asked about AI literacy, everyone's going to need it, because my favorite metaphor for AI these days is corn syrup. It's going to be in everything. And sometimes it won't be labeled. And the question is it going to be the high fructose kind? So we're all going to have to kind of be on the lookout for it. I'm talking building management systems, finance systems, HRs. It's going to be in everything. So we're all going to need to have some sensitivity and awareness to where this stuff is popping up. So the literacy is going to need to be broad-based. And part of the role that Berkeley IT needs to play is, at least in our enterprise systems that we administer, and hopefully when we're coaching and partnering with folks, to help you see when it just showed up, and see if we have decisions to make, or at least education to do about what it's doing. So that plays into safeguarding the values and assets of Berkeley, because it might be in there and it might be doing something we don't like. To adopt responsibly and ethically, to partner extensively, and collaborate with our peers. Interestingly, we all feel behind, right? But we've done several surveys of our peers. We're right in there, folks. We're actually right in there. We're all in the soup together, and we are all experimenting with different tools and platforms. And as far as what we actually have deployed on an enterprise institution-wide basis, we're actually ahead of some of our peers. So with that, I'm actually very proud to introduce Wes, who's going to talk a little bit about some of our broadly deployed services. And then Douglas is going to talk about a lovely partnership that we have that's really been a learning process, I think, for both Berkeley IT and people and culture, and has been kind of blazing the trail for experiments and learning in AI together. So with that, Wes.
All right, VCA squad, as mentioned, I'm Wes Johnson, Executive Director for Campus IT Experience within Berkeley IT. I did originally want to call us VCA Gang Gang, but I heard that Chief Pittman was in the building, and I didn't want to cause any confusion or panic. So we're going to stick with squad today. And I've got a presentation I'm going to start up. I'll be joined by Douglas shortly. But we wanted to kind of give y'all an overview of some of the AI offerings already available to us today, and then provide some examples about how at least we've used them and how you may be able to take that imagination and use them to benefit your work or your team's work or your customer experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to do a brief overview. Then we're going to work through some of the offerings that we gathered today, some considerations, primary links to learn more, and then open it up for questions if we have time. So a brief overview, we're going to be focused primarily on AI and chat assistance. This is seemingly the kind of entry point for most folks with AI. AI, artificial intelligence, is quite a large field of technology that covers many spaces. I saw the brain exploding emoji. We're not going to dive in the deep end to blow up anyone's brains here, but we did want to talk about some of the offerings that we have available in our AI and chat assistant service. So today we're going to be talking about the Campus AI Sandbox beta, and the team wanted me to emphasize beta. We're working on it. Google Gemini, the basic version, as well as Google Notebook LM, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Chat, and then Bear GPT beta. Remember the betas. And I'll just briefly mention, actually it was pretty inspiring. I was joking in my head. For folks who don't know, I used to pretty actively do rapping and producing and performed a good bit in front of crowds. And I was just imagining a scenario where someone walks up right before my set and says, so how many people in here like rap? And then this angry face, and it's like, all right, presenting Wes to rap. That did not happen today, so that is great. So first up, we're going to talk a little bit about the Campus AI Sandbox, and I wanted to start here because it really is a prime example of the chat assistant, AI assistant framework. It really is a place where you can bring together many different models from ChatGPT and OpenAI land, from Gemini, from Copilot, et cetera. You pick which one you want to use, and you're able to interact with it like you would do with any other chatbot. So it really is the shining example across all, so I'm going to lead with this example. This one is approved for P3 as recent, so that is excellent. Huge shout out to the team and folks behind the scenes for making that happen. And so I'm just going to jump right in on some examples here. And yes, the link is working. What you can barely see here on the left is Wes does a lot of searching on the Sandbox. I've done many things here. I wanted to pull out a few examples as I can also barely see here on the side. But we did a campus-wide survey on just folks' experience with IT. Some of you may have even filled it out. It was a sample of students, faculty, and staff, I think about 10% across each group, and they all got a survey. This was some of the feedback we got, and it's a lot. We got thousands of responses, and I literally grabbed it. I needed to do a presentation to Tracy and others to start talking about some of the comments we were getting from folks. I literally grabbed the comments from one of the services, dumped it into Sandbox, and said, can you give me the themes that you see? And what you're seeing now is the wall of text I just grabbed. Didn't get a fancy file. I just grabbed that text and dropped it in there. Eventually, you see here that it took that information and provided me a summary of some of the themes it was seeing from those comments, which made my job a lot easier. Now, I didn't make it go away. I had to go in and confirm that the things it was pulling were things that I was actually seeing in the data. You cannot trust it 100%, but it gave me a place to start. It gave me themes to look for and say, yep, I'm seeing those things, versus having to grab someone or myself, because as we mentioned earlier, staff and resources is a challenge for us. I rarely have staff who have the time to dive into this data for me. By using this tool, it enabled me to do that and include this in part of my report, where in the past I would have had to prioritize and maybe not include this piece of information in that report. Let's see, a couple other scenarios. So I had an interim position. I'm only in this role for about 3 years. This is the first time I've done an interim director role where you have to announce it across the organization. I put together some words and then told it to make it look better, add in all that filler language that you look for from a senior leader when you send out those department-wide messages. It did that for me. I didn't quite like it 100%, so I went in and modified it a little bit, but what could have been, for me, an intimidating 30 minutes to an hour, getting stuck in my head, turned into a quick 15, 30 minutes, thanks to the help from this. And then finally, I'll just mention, actually this one. Well, no, not that one. So I've been working on a partnership with another department to see some ways that we could improve IT support, and this was one of my longer ones. I won't make y'all go through each part of it, but essentially we're doing a one-time hardware replacement effort. I don't know the campus as well as some of my folks who have been here a very long time, and so I was literally going line by line trying to figure out, is this part of the group? Is this part of the division? Is it a division or is it a unit? And it kind of helped guide me to the places to confirm that I then went a little further and we started including some incident data. This is stuff I was pulling from ServiceNow. And it effectively, at the end of one of these chats, gave me the startings of a report. It broke that report out in sections. It said, here's your summary, here's the comparisons. The question we always get asked in the room, what are other universities doing? I included that in the prompt. It pulled other universities and sourced the university it came from. Now, admittedly, there was about 20 to 30 minutes I had to go in and say, that's not a university, or or that's not what the website says, but a lot shorter of a time frame than if I had to determine what those universities were, go to each website, do all the digging myself, site by site. Some I were familiar with. I came from the University of Georgia, so I knew what the website said. I was able to confirm it was correct. Those are some of the ways that I've been able to use it personally. And I'm gonna jump back to the presentation here. And so some of the ones following, like Microsoft Copilot Chat, you have access to that now. It's only at P2. We're a Google school, all right, so we're a little bit more invested on the Google side, but very similar process, and this presentation will be shared after, so you'll be able to click some of these links. It's available now to all faculty and staff, I believe. Google Gemini approved at P3. Again, we're a Google school. And so very similar situation. Again, the sandbox takes a bit of all of these and puts it in one place, whereas Gemini, if you're more rooted in the Google system, you can go to Gemini. Keep in mind that with Gemini and 365 Copilot, these are the standalone chats. So there may be some of you that maybe have a personal account and you have Gemini Plus or whatever they're calling it now, and it's showing up when you're working on a Google Doc and then showing up when you work on a Google Sheet. We do not have that available today, though we intend on making that available on a per license. You can purchase the license at a future date, so you would be able to use that. But the basic, go to gemini.google.com or whatever it is, you're signed into your Berkeley account, and then you can collaborate with the chat, the Gemini. Now, Notebook LM, I wanted to show a little bit more on this. Again, we're starting with a basic example, and this was one that I've only got to explore recently. I'm gonna go ahead and click the Try Now link to bring y'all, and I will click the Try Notebook LM. Now, I can be a bit of when I work in my digital spaces, they're a lot like my offices. I don't like them crowded or a lot of things on the desk. So there was actually like 20 things on this list before I came here, and then I was embarrassed by all of them, and so I removed them and gave y'all these two clean examples here. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm into hip hop, and so to test it out, to make sure I knew what I was talking about, I started a notebook, The Craft of Boom Bap Beat Production. It is a particular style of hip hop that popped up primarily in the 90s, and it's one of my favorite styles. And so what I like about Notebook LM is it kind of brings together a few different things. There's still the experience you see primarily here in the middle of effectively a chat, and you can ask questions and it brings up information. But what I like, and I'll back up a bit here so y'all can know what I'm talking about. If I start with create new notebook, right here what it gives me an opportunity to do, and you can do it later on as well, is I can actually grab PDFs or text-based files primarily and include them as what they call sources. And it'll pull that information. So say I'm looking for something like I'm trying to improve a service desk process. And I already have a process document, but I also want to know how does it work, nationally? What are other folks doing? What are the best practices? I could grab those files, whether they're in Drive or just a file on my desktop, drop them here. If I have links to things that I already want to be included, I can add those links here right now. If I have a video or a podcast that I want to include, I can add those in here right now as a link. And then if I don't have anything, I can click Discover Sources, and it will go out and grab various links on the topic that I insert later on, and then bring together this kind of notebook situation that you all were seeing earlier. So this is a blank one. I'm going to jump back into my Boom Bap one. And so I did a prompt. I asked it to just discover. And so it gave me this kind of primary. I asked for what are the differences and styles of boom bap beat production, what makes it boom bap. And it gave me this summary here. And then I can continue to ask questions to kind of dissect this down to a specific thing. At one point, I started to talk about what was the difference between things that were on swing. And for folks who don't know, it's pretty much the timing of different instruments and when they hit. If you add that swing to it, when you naturally play the drums, for example, it doesn't always hit at the exact same time, and that's what adds that groove and that natural feeling to it. Versus if you do it on a computer, you can literally put it on the line, and it's like it's very robotic to some people. We don't like it. So I was digging into that. From there, once I've got all my sources, so you see here, it pulled from YouTube videos on Boom Bap, it pulled from websites on Boom Bap down to the left. I can add more here. I can ask questions to drill down further. And then to the right, you can actually create things. So I could create flashcards based off the sources if I want to test myself on the material. You can create a podcast that has natural voices. They do the ums and the hums and everything. They go, oh, really? That's what you're talking about with it? Like, it does the whole thing, and it sounds a little cringy, like how dare technology think they can do it like us? Like, it can't do it like us. But one thing that I thought was great was the podcast format for some people, me, might actually be a great way to ingest the information that you just dug up in a quick 30-minute podcast that summarizes what you put together. That actually might be a helpful thing for some folks. You can also create a full-on briefing that, again, I would clean up, but you can pull together a briefing based off the things you put together, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different things that you can pull together from that. So hopefully that got the imagination going just a little bit. I'm going to go back now where we move to Bear GPT, where Douglas will join me.
Good morning. I know we are rocketing towards 10:30, so I'm going to keep this nice and quick. First question, what am I doing here? HR, IT, HR, IT. So this is a partnership, a bit of an experiment with Bear GPT. Analog style, quick show of hands, who feels really stretched thin in work right now? Everyone. Yeah, exactly. So there's a new term called quiet cracking, which leads to quiet quitting. You can basically understand through the words what that means. But today's presentation about Bear GPT isn't really about new systems to learn at all. It's about something built to make your day easier. Because let's face it, we're tired. We've seen big ideas come and go. We've sat through training after training. Sorry, Angela. And when someone says AI, a lot of us hear, this is going to make your jobs obsolete. No, that's not what Bear GPT is, or the tools that you just saw that Wes showed you. But let's name the real problem here, which is the 200 unread emails you have, the procedures you have to chase down, the meetings stacked back to back. I know this very well. That's the true burnout cycle. And you know, some of us are also afraid of change, especially when it comes to technology. But AI isn't what should scare us in this room. It's overload. It's the constant feeling there's never enough time to get it all done. And that's what's burning people out. Okay, so Bear GPT, not here to replace you at all, here to remove the work that shouldn't still be on your plate in this day and age. The after-hours policy search, the 10th rewrite of the same email that you have to send to your boss, the hours spent formatting documents no one will read twice, let alone once. Let's be honest. So Bear GPT, helpful colleague, expert in some very specific areas. And then basically, that's it there. The 3 reasons that Bear GPT matters. Number 1, time, your time now. Anyone who's ever had to write a policy summary knows normally maybe a half a day's worth of work. Bear GPT, 3 minutes. 3 hours becomes 3 minutes. That is the day, that is the age that we're now working in today. It gives you time back. It handles the tedious, repetitive work so you can focus on the human part of your job, the conversations, the ideas that you have, helping each other out. Number 2, context. So Bear GPT is not a Chat GPT or Gemini, it's ours, right? It speaks Berkeley. It's been trained on our policies, our websites, and our language. It won't give you generic internet answers. It gives you very specific Berkeley answers. And because it's trained on just our information, it hallucinates less. You'll still do the thinking, you'll still do the judgment, and the creativity. Bear GPT just makes the path to doing it faster and lighter. Lastly, security. Bear GPT was created exclusively for our campus, for our staff, for us. It's private and secure. It's built inside the UC environment, not out on the open web. And there's no new passwords to learn. There's no workshops to go through. There's no steep learning curve. There's just help when you need it. So let's see what it actually does for us. So here you can see we've got a ton of different assistants. These are not agents. These are assistants, two very different concepts. Assistants here to give you information to help you do your job faster, more economically, hopefully more enjoyably, get the drudge off your plate that shouldn't still be there in this day and age. Okay, so let's see. This is the exciting part where everything goes horribly wrong. All right, so this is Bear GPT. By the way, I took the liberty of entering every single person in VCA over the weekend into Bear GPT. So if you today, right now, go to beargpt.berkeley.edu, you will have access. Okay, so we've got all these. You're welcome. Yeah, I was up all night. No. So the Berkeley Assistant, this is probably the most popular of the assistants that we have. It should be the one that preloads. As you can see, it comes with 4 quick questions to get you going, but perhaps one of the ones that we've seen the most coming through are, let me see, I'm going to type this in. How do I get a reclassification mark? Go. Oh, and, all right. You see, this is why the fun of live demos work. So sometimes you'll get that red box. So it's thinking. It's coming through, coming through. And you'll see, by the way, at the bottom down here, this is running on OpenAI. We have the ability to choose between Llama and OpenAI in terms of its background engineering, but right now I've got it pre-programmed to always start with the OpenAI model. So here we go. You can get the basic sense here. It's a little bit iffy here, but you get the idea. You know, classification, gather the documentation, prepare the request, submit the request to HR, get a review through compensation, decision next steps, et cetera, right? Again, down on the left-hand side here, you'll see, again, our most popular assistants, labor relations assistant. This is always a good one. So, especially right now, everything is labor. What's a good question? What is accretion? Let's see if I can spell. And I know I'm using kind of like a Google search way of doing this, and you probably shouldn't do that. But essentially, this is just for speed to get us going. So basic accretions, thinking, okay, yep, unit modification, that's exactly what it is. And then how it goes through petitions, reviews, consents. So basically, you're seeing all of this research condensed for you, right? And then at the end, it'll always give you some related questions to keep the conversation going. So what are the steps? Okay, how do we contest it? Well, it'll do that for you as well. Give you information on that, sorry. So as you can see, in all of our assistants over here, we've got job description helper, right position overview, policy assistant. I've got every single UC policy and procedure, all of them in here, so you can query it. And again, you're querying a very, very specific set of data. We're not scouring planet Earth in the way that ChatGPT might do for you. This is very, very specific, so less hallucination, more secure, hopefully a faster response. Let me see, other ones, you'll see some websites actually outside of this model that use Bear GPT, like the begin.berkeley website for entrepreneurship and Skydeck, the HR site, of course. We have these chatbots, which are basically like Diet Coke versions of this, embedded in websites. So that's something else you're going to start seeing coming along. So that is ChatGPT. Everyone, you're all in it right now. Take an opportunity, look through it. Hopefully you have a bit of fun. Hopefully you learn something, and hopefully it becomes part of your regular day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Well, we are at the end of our town hall, and I just want to thank you all again for coming, for your engagement, for your questions. It was great to hear from Mark, to hear kind of both reflecting back and looking forward. I really was honored to unveil our strategic plan to you. It's going to come out so you guys can read through all those words on those pages. And again, you're going to be hearing more about how we're going to be rolling that out. And we really want to gather this group more often. So at least once a year, we want to do one of these town halls. We might do it more than that. And just thank you for joining us. And if you have reflections on the street plan, please email me, Mark, or Kyle, and we'll incorporate that. And please eat some more food and have some more coffee and water before you leave. Thank you. Happy Monday.